Hi, and welcome to this week's edition of Torah From the Kotel. We're here with the Ari Lewis Show, as always. Ari Lewis Show.
Yes, it's good to be here, live from the Kotel.
I'm in. And the title of this shiur will be, Did Moshiach Really Come? Everybody remind me, please, did Moshiach really come?
Right, let's talk about
and did he really come? I don't know, but let's start going the shiur and see what happens.
Okay.
All right, we're going to, the title, the inyan of this week's shiur. I want you to pay attention. We got to do the pocket wisdom. Pocket wisdom, this shiur is given in the refuah shlema of a strong, healthy soul to Peggy O'Connor Thornsberg, daughter of Dorothy Partain, or Parton, sorry how you pronounce it, but it's Peggy O'Connor Thornsberg. May she have in refuah shlema, strong soul. And the second thing we want to address, what are we here for today, Ari Lewis?
We are here to understand things better.
That's right, and the things that we want to understand better are, on with this book, it's just a little bit annoying. Now more me, okay, I'm back from a little commercial segment, get everything squared away, we've got a little bit of a movage over here. We are here to discuss printer's wisdom. The Stender is really not the best. We're here to discuss printer's wisdom. What is printer's wisdom? Have you ever heard of the Torah is black fire written on white fire?
No, I have not.
You never heard that?
Maybe once.
Famous thing that the Torah, the ink is black fire, the parchment is white fire.
Okay.
Most people, the premise of today, mamish, the premise of today, Rov Oilam, they give over black fire. What does the ink say? What does the text say? They don't acknowledge what we're calling white fire, the parchment, or printer's wisdom. At the end of this year, we're going to call it the Torah of Shem. Why? It's that which was there the whole time, and you never realized it. Ari Lewis, have you ever seen a page of Talmud?
Sure.
Do you see little olives and asterisks and parentheses and ones and twos in the margin and underneath words and things?
Yeah.
Do you look those up?
Not usually.
Should you?
Yes.
You should.
Yeah.
But they're there the whole time.
Right.
Most people could do a whole blot and never look up or notice one of those, correct?
Yeah, I think so.
So technically it's black ink and black fire, but you never saw it into the back of your mind, in the subconscious. We could call that white fire or parchment wisdom. Rav Ginsburg says in the time of Moshiach, the white parchment will actually be manifest alongside the black fire. You understand the concept we're trying to say?
Okay.
The wisdom, innate wisdom of the page, people will begin to realize it was always there, it is there, it was always there, always will be there.
Okay.
In the Masorah of the Torah scroll, how do we know this word doesn't have a vav, that word doesn't have a yud? There's a tradition, right, in the books of the Sofrim, it says this word don't put a yud, right? It's like the margin wisdom. Everybody should get into margin wisdom. I'm calling it printer's wisdom. It probably has a better name, and we'll develop a better name hopefully. But it's the wisdom of, I always give this mashal. I have a green curry sauce that I love to make on Shabbos on my chicken.
Is he related to Steph Curry?
It's a distant cousin.
Okay.
So my problem was I'm hacking it with a knife because I can't figure out how to open the jar with the little pull tabs. I have bigger fingers than the little ring, right?
Right.
And I ended up getting plastic in the sauce, and that's not good, Ari Lewis. So I realized one day on the red lid, I looked underneath, and what did I see? A red arrow on a red lid saying pull the tab this way. When you pull the tab that way, guess what happens? You don't have to hack it, the bottle comes right off.
Okay.
With like a schmuck little... Everything has that, doesn't it? There's instructions everywhere. In your gas tank in your car, a little arrow telling you the gas tank is on that side.
Right, but most people don't read the instructions.
They don't read it, but it was always there, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So do you have an excuse to not know what side to pump the gas from? Really?
No.
No. So Torah also, there's the aleph on the margin saying, hey, you don't know what this word is, Ari Lewis, and you're witchcrafting yourself telling you that you know what it is, but you don't know what it is. And the little aleph is saying, hey, Ari, did you ever think about to go look up Yavamas 45b from the bookshelf? Oh, you didn't do that, Ari. Why not? Because I didn't think I had to. I thought I pushed it and knew what was here, but you told yourself that, and you knew you didn't know. That's everybody in the world. And we're saying that concept is everywhere, all through the Torah. It was always there. A person with wisdom. What is a zaken, an elder? It's a person, zaken yoshev yeshiva, someone who sat in yeshiva. You can also call him a tzaddik and a talmid chacham. Leviticus 19:32. It is a mitzvah deraisa to honor that man. Did you know that?
Sure, anyone after 80, I think.
Anybody? That's the question. What is the geder of a chiyuv deraisa to honor a rav, a tzaddik, a zaken, a talmid chacham? Somebody who was kona wisdom. You now have a mitzvah deraisa to honor him. Someone who was koinet wisdom, you have a mitzvah deraisa to honor him. What's his problem? Why do you have to honor him? Because everyone knows a true sage isn't going to say, Ari, I'm a true sage, you have to honor me.
Right.
So you have to. I have no koyach, says the tzaddik, right? I can't say, Ari, I'm a tzaddik, therefore you should. I have to say, hey, right? You got to figure out this guy's got chachma. It's really a mitzvah d'oraisa to honor him. Now that tzaddik has what's called Ger Tzedek, and the whole point of the shiur is going to be who are these Ger Tzedek? I don't know what that means yet. We're going to find out.
Okay.
But they also, whatever they are, it's called also in Lashon Lefip Shuto, Ger Bastam. We're going to explain what all these terms mean. Ger Bastam.
Okay, but real quick, could they mochel kavod? They're tzaddik, like they say?
The Grease of the Rambam has a whole discussion on that. See it there. I think, remember, the answer is he can be moichel on his kavod, but it's one of those things, but you don't have to listen to that.
Ah.
If I remember that correctly.
Okay.
Don't trust me on that. Go look at the Grease. The first Grease on the Rambam, Dafka deals with that issue.
Okay.
Pat, remember it, but don't trust that. Go look it up.
Okay.
So now, this Ger Tzedek, let's just assume Ger here is Ger Bastam, which is they're called Mare Nefesh. Their Nefesh is weak. They're not strong Nefesh. Now that's going to be the end of the shiur. That's the answer. But that's like a hashkafic kind of Kabbalistic feel. Okay, that's what's going to be in these books. We're not going to go there from the beginning. The answer is they don't have Koyach Yisrael because they're not Jewish. They're not Jewish converts. A convert is a Yisrael. And we will explain the difference there as well during the shiur.
Okay.
Just imagine there's something called a Ger Tzedek. He is Mare Nefesh. He's lacking Koyach Yisrael. Why can't you taunt him? Unlike the widow and the orphan, you can't taunt them because even a Jewish orphan and widow, it's a widow and an orphan and they have no Koyach by definition. But the non-Jewish person, he has no koyach because he has no brethren around him. Therefore, you cannot taunt him. And he comes in the very next verse, 1933, which comes after 32. So the tzaddik has the Ger Tzedikim, which are together. Don't taunt him because he can't stand up and say, I'm a tzaddik, therefore. They can't say anything because they have nothing. And their Rav can't defend them because he has nothing to say for it. Am Yisrael then has to say, we sanctify this. And how do we do that, Ari Lewis Show? Every day in davening, 3 times a day. Al tzadikim, al chasidim, yada yada yada. Al Ger Tzedek. Ari Lewis, who are the Ger Tzedek? Good question, isn't it?
Yes.
So let's figure out who it is.
Okay.
All right. So my point is we're going to follow now a structure. Every place you see Ger in the Torah, Ari Lewis, every place, you will find what I call printer's wisdom. Underneath the Ger Tzedek reference, there will be a little aleph, right? And you'll look it up and it'll say, hey, go look at Rashi over there. And over there in Septim Megillah 17b, you'll say, hey, go look it up over there in Yavamas. I'm making up the sources for the sake of discussion. The point is there will always be little things for you to go look it up and research. All right, do you want to know what and where those little things are about the Ger Tzedek?
Sure.
All right, let's do it. Here comes the first lesson in printer's wisdom. You ready?
Yes.
Everybody assumes Ger Tzedek in English letters, G-E-R, right? We're not getting in Hebrew right now. They would say, is a convert. Everybody would say that, right? Is a convert.
Right.
But that's in an English language, and it's already Lefib Shuto. Because really we're going to say, as the Briskers are going to say, like, a Brisker doesn't care what other people think. And they're like, you're not saying it right. You're not saying it right. So how do you say it right? Ger Tzedek can be. Not is a. Don't say Ger Tzedek is a convert. It isn't a convert. Ger Bastam is synonymous with Ger Tzedek. Merek Tahana brings down Ger Bastam. Ger Bastam is a Ger Tzedek, or is Ger Tzedek. And what's his reference for that? Bava Metzia 58b. Go look up Bava Metzia 58b, and what does it say? Do not taunt the Ger 46 or 36 times, which sheet do you go by? Don't taunt the Ger in the Chumash.
Right.
What's the example of that? Even a Jewish Baal Tshuva. Yesterday you were eating treif, and today you want to learn Torah from a Pia Gavira.
You don't mock them. You don't say, well, you ate treif.
Is a Baal Tshuva Ger Tzedek?
Sounds like it.
Yes, it is. Is a convert Ger Tzedek?
Yeah.
Okay. Is a Ger Toshav Canaanite nations that we want to conquer a Ger Tzedek?
Sounds like it also.
No, says Meir Kahana. We're going to explain that in a little bit also why. But the point is, can we say dogmatically in a singular way, Ger Tzedek is a something?
Well, yeah.
No, it's not. It can be something.
Is an
exclusion of all the rest. It's not is a something. It's already at least a convert and a Jew.
It's a possibility.
What? No, is a singular dimension. A convert and a Jew is already two. That's beyond singular.
Okay.
Therefore, it can be a convert. It can be a Jew. You understand the difference in language?
Okay.
Printer's wisdom is if I say Ger Tzedek is a, there cannot be anything else. It's a mute. It's a reboy. So you have to say it wisely with printer's wisdom so nobody can then use your words against you. So I would say it like this. A Ger Tzedek can be a non-Jew. A Ger Tzedek can be a convert. A Ger Tzedek can be a Jewish Baal Tshuva. A Ger Tzedek can be a type of this or that.
So Ger Tzedek's its own category?
No. Hear what I'm saying. There's a Chazal, the Pshuta term called Ger Tzedek.
Okay.
Every source will have a different plug-in of what it is. Therefore, it isn't anything. It can be several things depending on the content on location.
Okay.
All right, that Baal Tshuva over there was eating treif yesterday. Do not taunt him.
Right.
Can he be a Ger Tzedek?
Yeah, he can be.
That convert over there was eating treif yesterday. Do not taunt him. Can he be a Ger Tzedek?
Yeah.
So can a Ger Tzedek be a non-Jew? Yes.
Okay.
Can a Ger Tzedek be a convert?
Right, but that sounds like it's its own category.
What do you mean?
That it's this category that things or people could fit in that category.
In that regard, yes, but I don't like what you're saying for one reason.
Okay.
We are trying to say it responsibly so people don't fall in a trap. To say it is a category is a thing. The printer's wisdom gets people. See, I understood you now. You explained to me.
Okay.
Once this goes on the internet, they're going to quote you wrong. Ari Lewis said a Ger Tzedek is a.
Right.
That's what we're trying to undo here.
Okay.
So you're not wrong. But you're not going to convey it right for them to hear. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So for responsible speech, Ari Lewis is a Ger Tzedek something? No.
No.
Can it? It can be. It can be something.
It can be something.
So what can it be? It can be a Baal Tshuva. It can be a convert. It can be a non-Jew. It can be, for all intents and purposes, those are the three biggest ones. But it can be a lot of things.
But you said Meir Kahana said.
So let's go into that now then,
Okay.
right? Meir Kahana is saying, we conquer Eretz Yisrael Canaanites. Muslims today have the Geder of a Canaanite. Because we have a milchamis mitzvah to conquer them, they have to take servitude to us, pay taxes, and take on the 7 laws Ger Toshav. They are now Ger Toshav, on the lowest common denominator, and they do not lose the Geder of Goy in their distinction. Like we said, the Ritva, Goy ben Noach Ger Toshav, that Ger Toshav of the Ritva is not them. It's a different Ger Toshav. There's different dargos of Ger Toshav. Therefore, they are subservient to the state of Israel, so they don't rise up to throw us out of here. Now, don't taunt the Ger means have compassion on the Ger. Why would you conquer them only to release them and have them have compassion on them to conquer you? Therefore, it's a mute. When it says, this is Ger Toshav, this is Ger Tzedek, it cannot be that Ger Tzedek. Or that Ger Toshav, sorry. It cannot be that Ger Toshav. It has to be a Ger Tzedek. Therefore, a Jewish, non-Jewish Ger Tzedek is not one of the Canaanite types. But we don't proselytize and make converts. But those Canaanites, how does Meir Kahana say? We release them from their servitude if they want to convert. Then Ger Tzedek convert applies to them, and then don't taunt them. Yesterday you were conquered, Canaanite here, and today you're learning Torah Mapia Gavoira. So now, could he say Ger Bastam, which this is Ger Bastam, Ger Tzedek Ger Bastam, correct?
Yeah.
Can he say that's a Ger Toshav by any way? No. By his own sheet that he's talking about, it is a and not it can be. He's saying it is a Canaanite Ger Toshav. Therefore, what kind of Ger Tzedek is it? It is a convert. Because he's speaking on a very narrow kav. But is he talking about all the types of Ger in the world?
They're speaking about something specific.
He's always speaking about Bava Messiah 58b, Lafi, don't taunt the Ger in a very narrow context. Did he bring all of Chazal and Masorah to prove that point? Is he wrong? He's not wrong. He's not even trying to be wrong. And you'll say in the English he says convert. You better believe he does. Because a Canaanite conquered person to get released from that must convert. Becoming Ger, our friendly Ger Toshav friend, the Chassid Ger, doesn't work for him. He could have before we conquered him, but he waited till the last minute. Therefore, he has to either be Ger Toshav conquered or convert. Therefore, there's a concept in Hebrew called lo nachon. What does lo nachon mean?
Not right.
Wrong.
Does it mean wrong?
No. Nachon in Tanakh Hebrew, if you get a medium steak, you like a medium steak, don't you, Ari Lewis?
I would like a big steak.
All right, but if it's a medium steak you order and it comes back raw, do we throw it away? Is it wrong? Throw it out? I want a chicken sandwich now? Or is it not exactly cooked right yet?
Yeah, right.
So you would say to that waiter, it's lo nachon. It needs a little oomph. Ari Lewis, you said Ger Tzedek is a category of its own right?
Yeah.
I said, it's lo nachon, Ari. You're not wrong. They're wrong. I need you to fix it a little bit. Nachon means tikkun, to make more mitaken in Lashon HaKodesh of the Tanakh Hebrew. So when Rashi and Ramban, they say Ramban says Rashi's lo nachon, he's not saying he's wrong. He's saying he's right, but there's another level he could have got to. You understand?
Yeah, but okay.
Modern Hebrew is a different language.
Okay, right.
The modern Israeli says "Ata lo nachon, ata lo nachon."
That's saying you are wrong.
As you are wrong.
Yeah.
So in the Israeli, in the yeshivas, they say "Ata lo nachon," you are wrong. Ramban was not an Israeli in modern day Israel saying "Ata lo nachon."
Right.
He's saying, look, you're right, but you can dig a little deeper. With the waitress, you're not saying you made my steak wrong. You're horrible. Go away. You're saying, can you put it back on and make it a little more right? It was wrong, but not like ruined wrong. So lo nachon is to say Ger Tzedek is a convert. You're not wrong. It's just not exactly nachon. You didn't get to the nth degree. Because you were saying that, whoever you are, thinking in my little world, or in the conquered Ger Toshav world, or the convert world, or the Baal Tshuva, yes, it was an ashram world. In your little world, that's what it was. Ger Tzedek is blah, 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 blah. But you weren't thinking about other worlds. Are there other worlds going on in Torah simultaneously? 100%. So let's discover the greater worlds of Ger Tzedek non-Jew, so we can understand that it can be, and not that it is a.
Okay.
All right. We find in Isaiah 44:5. You with me?
Yes.
I forget the exact lashon of the pasuk, but you can feel free to look it up. 44:5, House of Yaakov, yada yada. There's 5 kinds of Jews, yada yada yada. Right?
Right.
I forget all the distinctions. One of them is tzadikim gemorim, total tzadik, right? I forget the categories. One of them is Bali Tshuva. Another one is, listen carefully, Ger Tzedek. And the Mechilta commentary on that explains, you ever hear the idea that Nebuchadnezzar's kids became converts, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's that concept. My grandfather was a you know what? And the relatives who converted are called Ger Tzedek. Ger Bastam, Ger Tzedek, in singular, in plural, Ger Tzedek.
Okay.
But then there's a 5th type called the Yirei Shamayim. Another term for them in the Avos Rabbi Nassim is Gerei Emes, or Gerei Umos HaOlam. All different kinds of Gerim. So what is it called in the Mechilta, right? Which there's 2 ways it can always go. Yirei Shamayim, in different sources, right? Or Gerei HaTzedek. What's the difference between that and the convert? You didn't hear it, did you? Printer's wisdom, Ari. The Hay and the Aleph were always there. Listen. Gerei Tzedek. Gerei HaTzedek. That letter Hey makes the entire difference. Gerei Tzedek is what they use to show convert, the sons of Nebuchadnezzar. Gerei HaTzedek are non-Jews completely, and it is the language of Yirei Shamayim and our friend the Ger Tzedek non-Jew, or a Ger Toshav, and not in this type of Ger Toshav, the slave kind, but our Ezehu Ger Toshav of Avodah Zarah 64b that says Mitzvah Chiyuso, a righteous non-Jew. Okay, where do we see another similar type of learning? Isaiah 56:3. The Ben HaNecher and the B'nai HaNecher are the Nilva Ger. Isaiah 14:1 and Isaiah 56:3. Sounds like these non-Jews will be keeping Shabbos in Isaiah 56:3. And they're called Ben HaNecher. And he's a good guy. And the Mikros Gedol's commentary there, Ger Tzedek, Ger Tzedek, Ger Tzedek. Convert? No, it can't be. It's Nilva Ger, like in Isaiah 14:1. They're keeping Shabbos as non-Jews. So what is it? They're righteous non-Jews. Ben HaNecher is a good one, and Ben Necher, and all through the Tanakh, is an antagonist to David HaMelech. That Hey makes all the difference. Have you ever heard the word Pshat?
Yeah, sure.
Have you ever heard the word Pashut?
Sure.
Are they the same?
They're similar.
I didn't ask that. Are they the same?
No.
Give me the Pshat on what that is.
Right.
It's a stand.
Yeah.
Is it Pashut? Yeah, it's a plain stand.
Yeah, but that's different.
They're both different.
Yeah.
So HaNecher and Necher, we cannot say are the same. All Talmudic diktuk goes by this little printer's wisdom. The Hey, the Vav, Ger Cha. Have you heard of the 10 Commandments?
Sure.
Ger Cha asher b'sharecha. your ger that is in your gates. You think that is in your gates is Stam language, don't you? That is a halachic distinction of ger toshav of the righteous caliber. Ger versus ger ha. Ger has one connotation, which was why we brought Mishnah Berurah. On Shabbos and Yantav, you have a mitzvah deraisa to bring a ger, a widow, an orphan, a Levi, and Mare Nefesh people into your home. If you lock the door to them, you are what the Zohar Parshas Pinchas calls Rachmana litzlan, meaning we don't want to say what you are. And they're called Nilva, language of the non-Jew, and it's Lashon ger. That's in Devarim 14:11 and 16:11 and 16:14. Okay? And that is the Nefesh Ger. When a Ger becomes elevated to Nefesh Ger, meaning he receives sustenance from Malchus Atzilus into the Nefesh Ger, whereas the Jew goes up to Yesod Elyon, the language of Tzaddik or Goyel. The Jew receives from Zah, the non-Jew receives from Malchus. We are called Zera Yisrael. They're called Ger Tzedek, which is a different language altogether. It's what you call Malchus of Atzilus. And therefore the Gerim, non-Jews of this world, receive from Malchus of Atzilus, what is called Nefesh Ger. When they become Gershin as Gayer and remain a non-Jew, like the Shita of the Rashba, okay, they receive what's called a Nefesh Chadasha. And the Alshik commentary in the Chumash describes exactly they come under the Kanfi of Shechina, under the wings of the Shechina. And that's why it says that a ger is like a newborn baby. They receive a new nefesh, which is why does a non-Jew keep Shabbos? Well, Isaiah 56:3 says they keep a non-Jewish Shabbat. Do they keep a Jewish Shabbat or a non-Jewish Shabbat?
Non-Jewish.
Do they keep the Shabbat or a Shabbat? Pray there's wisdom. Not the Shabbat, a Shabbat.
Yeah.
Makes all the difference, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So now, when we say you get a nefesh yisera on Shabbos, you get it because your Jewish neshama needs it for one reason. They get a nefesh yisera because they are mare nefesh. You have what's called oneg Shabbos. Your soul needs oneg Shabbos. You're not going to die. You have a different replenishment that you need. They are mare nefesh. It's like for them, it's like going through a desert without any water. With you want to go through a desert on Shabbos in a caravan. It's a poor mushal, but you understand the difference. You have a one need. Theirs is literal life and death over the nefesh. Yours is a different level altogether, oneg Shabbos.
It's more of a comfort level, maybe?
For us, it's expanded das through eating and drinking. But the comfort of eating and drinking is what allows the Jewish soul to experience the expansion of das, is the Gemara and Tainus, okay? For them, they're not thinking about that. They want the aspect of their nefesh to become replenished. It's just, what do you want, a chocolate milkshake or a sundae? One guy wants this, one wants that. What's the difference? We go for afterwards for a drink. You want a milkshake to replenish your soul. I want a glass of iced tea.
Well, it's a matter of taste.
Matter of taste.
Yeah.
One is for a Jew or someone to convert, realizes they want to be a Jew. The other one says, I'm interested in the nefesh. To each his own. What the problem is the bigotry in the world, I have to be Jewish or I'm not part of it, right? Is there's a bad learning going around, nefesh equals mosquito. If you're interested in your nefesh, it's a mosquito. It's a horrible thing. That's like saying, you see that thing? It's called a wall. Is that really? It's just a wall? Is it the wall or a wall?
It's the wall.
The wall. So there's the nefesh and nefesh. Yeah, a mosquito's a nefesh, but there's something called the nefesh, like nefesh ruach, right? And then malchus vatzilas. Some people are really attached to that. They are called geir. You have a mitzvah to bring them to your Shabbos and Yom Tov table because they need that for their nefesh. You cannot lock the door to them because you were given Shabbos. You were given the keys to the gate. Therefore, geir in the gate, and you are the one who opens the gate. All right. So now we come back to the Shmona Esrei, right? We say Ger Tzedek is the language. Ger Tzedek. We've now shown there's a very strong reason to question now what kind of Ger Tzedek in singular or Ger either Tzedek or Tzedek in the plural. Remember, Ger Tzedek is just a thing. It's not an is a, it's a can be. Because it's in the singular. We don't know what it is. So where does the plural come in, Ari? From the non-Jew, the Baal Tshuva, different types of Geri, Geri, the different lingos, that's in the plural. So in the Shemona Esrei, 3 times a day, we daven in the plural. Megillah 17b says that Masorah comes from Megillah 17b. Again, 1732, 1733 in Vayikra, the Tzaddik, the Talmud Chacham, and all Tzaddikim, you pray that right? All the Ger Tzedek? Okay. The Maharal of Prague says, Seichel is a ger in this world. And he used that same lingo. And Moshiach is a zakin, correct? A Talmud Chacham. And he's on the outside of the camp like a leper, as in Sanhedrin 98, A or B, pardon me. The house of Rebbe, that whole Masorah over there in the Midrash. And the leper is like a skin disease. Sapachat is a skin disease. The ger in 14:1 is also called either skin disease, but it's a play on words because sapachat also means really, really, really attached. So they're called really, really attached, but at the same time, it can be a skin disease. Same word, sapachat. So just like Moshiach is out of the camp and he is a skin disease, the Gerim are also out of the camp and are a skin disease. Therefore, they have to attach to the camp. And that is the tikkun of the fourth house of Israel, right? Kohen, Levi, Israel, Ger, only according to marriages deraisa, which we don't do today. But Gerim will be attached for what's called din shel ger toshav, so it only doesn't have to come down to conquering Canaanite slaves, but the whole world, so the Lubavitcher Rebbe, will be ger toshav, i.e. observant and recognizing God. At that level, it doesn't come into ger this or ger that. It's called mankind recognizes God, the Messianic era. And therefore, the world will be attached to Israel through what is called the Nilva ger. And it can only happen to Torah's Moshe Sinai. See Rambam, Hilchos Malachim, chapter 8, halachas 10 and 11, how to properly attach to Israel as a Chasidim Musal Olam and ger toshav, afilu b'zman hazeh, according to the Shita of the Ravid, which we will get to at the end of the Shir. Okay, now, we want to say, is that in Shemona Esrei really that? We have reason to think so, from the Maral, from the Gemara Megillah, from the idea of, do we daven for non-Jews in the Shemona Esrei? Yonah Hanavi, the Gra says in Sionit Ra'it, Vilna Gaon Zionism. Who invented Zionism? The Vilna Gaon. In the year 1704, not Herzl.
Right.
Vilna Gaon Zionism was started by the Vilna Gaon. He came to this very plaza right here with who? Students of the Baal Shem Tov, students of Baal Tanya, students of Breslov. And then they were here and they made the yishuv that we are here until it got hijacked for money reasons in the 19th century. Herzl and Germany got involved, but the Charedim are still involved in the Medina. Why? Because they never weren't. Therefore, what we say, in davening, there's a lot of references to non-Jews. Right, scattering the kibbutz golius, which is the Jewish Baal Tshuvas in exile, and the non-Jews that with the spark raining in the sparks of kedusha. So there's a lot of remez and hint in the Shemona Esrei prayer. But can we say Ger Tzedek means the can be not is a can be a Ger Tzedek non-Jew, and therefore are the converts mentioned in prayer? Well, duh, they're called Jews. They're called Jews. So here we go. It takes us back to the quintessential Ger Tzedek reference. 10 Commandments, 2010, Shmos, Rashi's commentary, V'gercha sheb'sharecha, your ger and your gate. Rashi says Ger Tzedek. Perfect case, right? It's not exactly the same Ger Tzedek, but it's Ger B'stam, as in Bava Metzia 58. Don't talk to Ger, right? We don't need to go there. We have now Ger Tzedek. It's a different type. It's a different place. Can that Ger Tzedek, right? Can that Ger Tzedek be? Can it be non-Jew? So the answer is a Jewish convert is a Jew. He's not mentioned in the 10 Commandments. He's a Jew. A Jew keeps Shabbos. So how do we understand Rashi's commentary there? This Ger Tzedek, that Rashi mentions Lefip Shuto, and the Ger in your gates, which everybody says is the Ger Toshav, i.e. a non-Jewish Ger, Ramban and everybody else. Why? All Lashon in your Ger in your gates, non-Jew. So how is it a Ger Tzedek, a Jewish convert? See Shimshon Raphael Hirsch. He says that Ger Tzedek, Gercha is a reference to Dvarim 31:12. When we gather all the nation of Israel to hear the Torah, the king of Israel, here in the Beis Hamikdash. And who's gathered? The Cohen, the Levi, Israel, and the Gerim. By the verse itself says Gerim. And all the commentaries, that is a non-Jewish Ger. 100 billion%. So Rav Hirsch is an amazing thing. So why does it say Gercha? Why are we calling it Ger Tzedek, Gercha? He says because the Cha, your Ger, Ari Lewis, who's your Ger in your gates. It means it's permanent. He calls it Nilva Ger. All language Nilva Ger, Isaiah 14:1, is the non-Jewish Ger. So there's somebody called Ger in your gates who is not Nilva. He's not really attached. He's around. He's more than this guy. He's a Stam Noahide. Stam Noahide. But one who's mamish affixed to Israel. That's what we call the fourth house of Israel. It's the Nilva Ger. Isaiah 14:1. It hasn't happened yet. It's predicted in the prophecies to happen at the time of Isaiah 56:3, when the fourth house Gerim, which is not a holy kahal. What is a holy kahal? Cohen, Levi, Israel. You know what a Jew is in the Torah? It's called Bnei Yisrael. You know what Bnei Yisrael are? They are a holy kahal. What is a holy kahal? Cohen, Levi, Israel. But there's a fourth kahal called Gerim, and they're not called a holy kahal. They're called a kahal. Why are they not called a holy kahal? Ruth comes from that kahal, and they marry into Machlin and Kilian and Boaz, because a ger, non-Jew, can marry a mamzeris, and a regular Jew cannot bring a mamzeris into the kahal. So how do we deal with mamzeris and all these different fringe factions in halacha? Gerim, Deraisa are able to take care of that. Today there's no ger Deraisa, so the Rabbanan Bedi Yevid, a convert would marry a mamzer mamzeris, but that's Bedi Yevid, because lecharchila it would be a ger non-Jew, and by definition it cannot be holy because it takes place outside the kahal. All right, so now we're going to say when gerim are affixed to Am Yisrael, when there's a proper Kohen, Levi, Israel, Ger, Sanhedrin, Beis Hamikdash, Melech, Navi, Shofet, Kayin, you have everything, all of everybody, the Bnei Yisrael, or the Jews, the people, or the Ger, then you have what's called Nilva Ger. They're attached, the Ger that's attached, which is Isaiah 56:3, and Shabbos will come down the universal Shabbat. Okay, so therefore the Ten Commandments, Ger, when Rashi says Ger Tzedek, according to Rabbi Hirsch, it's the Nilva Ger. It's the ones that are really attached to you. Look at the Taisva's commentary on location. This is a beautiful thing. There's something called a born Jew, an Ezrach. A convert enters into the Eidah of a Ezrach, right? We won't say, oh, we're a convert friend, Ari, meaning your daughter can marry a convert, correct?
Yeah.
There's Jewish is Jewish is Jewish is Jewish.
Sure.
That's called a born Jew. You'll say, but they're obviously not a born Jew. We know that, but they're considered a born Jew. And then we say, ashkafically, their soul was at Sinai. They were Jewish all their life, but didn't know it. They're actually more connected to what Rabbi Nachman calls a Bal Tshuva than a Stam non-Jewish Ger. And in Rabbi Nachman's words, there is something called Ger B'Koyach and Ger B'Poyel. Someone who is from the non-Jews who comes back to Judaism and converts, Ger B'Poyel, and someone who sees Judaism as the truth but doesn't want to convert, Ger B'Koyach. So I know a lot of converts, I'm sure you do too. We consider them Jewish from birth, do you not? You say he was a Yid from birth but didn't know, so he converted to become a Yid. Not literally. You don't say, but well.
He always had a Jewish soul.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the non-Jew, you don't say that. So therefore, they enter into the Eidah, just like a guy who converts to Islam today. Is he from Ishmael? No. Is he under a Klippus Ishmael? Yes. So a convert enters under the wings of the Shekhinah, B'tzad Am Yisrael, on the holy aspect, Kohen, Levi, Israel. They are holy. They marry holy people. They have holy kids. And it's not a Durabanan thing. It is real. So they take on all Torah mitzvahs, yada, yada, yada. A non-Jew can be elevated to what is called Yisrael Gamor. They can take on all the mitzvahs, and that it's a taina to say, if I am non-Jewish and I take on everything, but I don't convert. Is he Jewish? No. No. And the nafkamina is, don't confuse the two. One person can go to the nth degree, but just before the end, doesn't go all the way. Come on, just consider me Jewish. No. One person goes all the way and says, I'm Jewish. What do you say? Yeah, come on board. You're Jewish now. So in the Ten Commandments, that Shabbos is to say, you shouldn't be asking on the convert. It's the non-Jew who takes on almost everything. Even he takes on Shabbat, not the Shabbat, but a Shabbat. Krisis 9a, they break Shabbos one of three ways. Like Yom Tov, Chol Moed, or Chol. See the Rambam in Hilchah Shabbos 24:14, I believe it is. Shulchan Aruch 304. 3:24 in the Mishnah Berurah, which we'll read at the end of Shir, how it is done a non-Jewish Shabbat. All right. So now we understand how Ger Tzedek can be a non-Jew and how it can be pshat in Ishmon Esrei. Does that mean to say it's a mute on the converts? No. If you really want to read in there a convert, you can 100%. Why? It's not is a, it's a can be. It's a can be. It can be a convert, but it makes more sense if it can be a non-Jew. Because all the different learning in Vayikra 19, 32, and 33, all the different Messiahs of Ger Bastam and Ger Tzedek, Geri Hat Tzedek, Rosemon, it's lending towards the non-Jew. And the Lashon of the Shemon Esrei is Geri Hat Tzedek, and what do we say in the Mechilta? Not Geri Hat Tzedek, but Geri Tzedek. Therefore, there's more of a mashma'ut to say non-Jew than to say Jew. Why? Because a convert is a Jew. He should be davening for the world, not to say, I'm part of the Jewish people, therefore I'm praying to be part of the Jewish people. You are part of the Jewish people. That's why you converted.
Right.
We didn't do too bad.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, we're ready now to finish the whole shir. Watch this. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
We got through it all. That's
expeditious.
That's pretty good. Now we're gonna end with. Hey, I'll get that later. Ready for this? Watch this. I'm dropping stuff. Watch this. 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 Rabbi Isai, it's been brought to my attention that there are things being said. Is there a Ger Toshav movement happening? The answer is no. No one is making a Ger Toshav movement. Can you repeat that, please?
No one is making a Ger Toshav movement.
And when we say a Ger Toshav movement, we're talking Rambam, Hilchos Asuri Bia 14:8. Why is there not a Ger Toshav movement today? Because there's no Ger Toshav except for the time of Jubilee. I repeat, there is no Ger Toshav movement today because we are not in a time of Jubilee. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
All right. Therefore, there's different usages of Ger Toshav. The question is, can you show me the usage of Ger Toshav that has nothing to do with Jubilee and is Shayach for today, and it relates to the non-Jew, and it would explain why this word Ger Toshav is going around when the Chumash never uses Ger Toshav, not once. We call it Ger. We can call it Ger Bastam, which is the Ger Tzedek, which can be a non-Jew. Or we can say Ger Toshav. How can we say Ger Toshav? We proved Ger Tzedek, do we not?
Yeah.
Okay. What about Ger Toshav? Ger, we showed is Mari Nefesh. So we showed Ger Tzedek, it can be, not that it is it can be. Can we see where Ger Toshav, or Din Shel Ger Toshav, as Rav Aaron Soloveitchik says? There's not a Ger Toshav today, but there's either the Geder or Din of Ger Toshav. Listen to this. Shulchan Aruch 304, 304, Siman Gimel, and the Mishnah Berurah 24. Ready?
Yeah.
This is the Deya of Halacha. When the Rav Kahana Shita is saying, look at the Ritva, or look at the Rashba, or look at the Rambam, or look at the Ravid, or look at this entire Deya, what we call Shulchan Aruch Siman 304, right? There's a Deya from Krisis 9a, the non-Jewish Shabbat, right? It's a Deya. Whenever you see this Deya, you can be sure it's a consistent school of rabbinic psak. Again, from the Rashba, Ritva, Rabbi Sicha, Rabbi Nachman, the Krisis 9a, Avodah Zorah 64b. Okay, it's the same sugya. And what do we call this guy? The Ger in your gates. He's the Ger in your gates. It's not the same as don't taunt the Ger. That's Ger Bastam, Ger Tzedek, and it can be, or it's not an Izeh. We're talking a different one. It's not Ger Bastam, it's not Ger Tzedek. It's Ger Toshav in the Talmudic taxonomy. In the Chumash, it's called Ger in your gates. So, if we're going to say the Chumash never calls it Ger Toshav, also, it never says Ger Tzedek. Mind you, the Chumash never calls it Ger Tzedek, or Ger Toshav. Only Ger Cha, Hagir, Veger, Ger Chashem Sharecha. So, if we're going to say, rabbinically, in Chazal, in the poskim, why do they call Ger Toshav if there's no Ger Toshav today? Here's one answer. Is it the answer or an answer?
A answer.
We have an idea that there's a Shabbos Koi, and you say he's called an Eino Yehudi Gamor, a total Nachri. Total Nachri. No mitzvahs, no shayachas to Kedusha, nothing, right? If there's levels of observance, the level that you can mishtamish in a Amir Lagoy, it's very hard. If someone is like he's that Mari Nefesh non-Jew, right? It's very hard to say, hey, make me a cup of coffee. In fact, it's usser. If the non-Jew is holding in somewhere in his avodas Hashem, it is usser to say, please make me a cup of coffee on Saturday morning.
Wow.
So therefore, a nachri, only a nachri, is there any heter bechlal in a Amir Lagoy? Okay? So how do you go from being Eino Yehudi Gamor to something in between and quasi between Jew and non-Jew? We're not saying he's converting, and he's not a Nachri, Akum, Goy, or Eino Yehudi Gamor. Is there a middle grade called a Noahide, 7 laws or something?
Sounds like it.
Okay. Eino Yehudi Gamor. Aval im ki bel alav hasheva mitzvahs.
There you go. Sheva.
If he accepted on himself the 7 laws.
Right.
Halohu ger toshav. He is a ger toshav. Not like a ger toshav, not just like a ger toshav. He is, not even he can be, he is a. It is usher to make malacha for Yisrael, even to me, to who that was one that is not his Rav. He can't make it for his rabbi, cup of coffee, or for you. And look in the Rambam. Remember we said the Rambam says there's no Ger Toshav today, right? Because of the Jubilee, right?
Yeah.
Look in the Rambam. Perak Yud Daled Mehilchas Asuri Bia. Didn't we say 14:8 in Asuri Bia? I think we did. The Ein Mekablin Ger Toshav is man she'eno yoivo noyik. So you're right. The Rambam says there's no Ger Toshav chutz miyovo yoiv, right? V'chein Evid she'eno right to the Kabel Alav mitzvahs. Also a slave or servant that doesn't want to accept mitzvahs. Ki'im Sheva Kamo Ger Toshav. Right, your Evid Kanani doesn't want to take on the mitzvahs of a Noahide to be Kamo Ger Toshav, not a Ger Toshav, but like a Ger Toshav.
Yeah.
The Gam Kain Ein Makablin Osub Azman She'ini Yoiv Noik. Even if you had your Evid Kanani, Ari, it's not a Jubilee year, you can't do it. The Haravid Sham Choylek Ozeh Ayin Sham. The Ravid there argues on this. What is it? What's going on? He brings the Rambam in the commentary to say the Ravid argues. Why? The halakha is like the Ravid. How do we know that? Because the Mishnah Brura is commenting on the Shulchan Aruch, and the Shulchan Aruch is the halakha, and the halakha is this Ger Toshav, i.e. Noahide, is halakha l'maisa. Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach poskin as such also. And it's not just a contemporary psak. The Deya poskim have always gone with this Ravid Shita. He's bringing the Rambam to say, you're going to say, I heard there's no Ger Toshav today because of Yovel. Yeah, the Rambam said that. Yasher Kolich, everyone knows that. And we go by the Ravid. Look there, the Ravid's Cholik on that Rambam. The Shulchan Aruch went with who? The Ravid. Rashba, Ritva, Vodazora 64b, Krisis 9a, the Rebbe Sicha, everybody went with that Shita. It's halakha l'maisa. Therefore, the Krisis 9a, not the Jewish Shabbat, but a Shabbat. It can be done by a non-Jew. And you may call him in the Ten Commandments by Rashi's commentary, Gercha, which is not, it can be Ger Tzedek non-Jew.
Okay.
So what we've seen now is that there's always printer's wisdom all through these things. People would look at this word Rambam and say, oh, the halakha of the Rambam. You didn't chop. You didn't chop what the commentary was doing, why he brought the Ravid. Did you even see the word Ravid there? Did you understand what it meant? It was there glowing at you. And you were like, yeah. Because once upon a time, someone said, come on, Ari, that doesn't matter. Printer's wisdom is everywhere. How did I know Rav Meir Kahan got Ger, so to speak? He quoted the Ritva on the second page. The Ritva.
So you looked up the source.
We knew the source. Anytime anyone brings our guys, we know it.
Yeah.
If, when the Torah is written with what I call printer's wisdom, it was always there. These are loaded terms. We know every word in this halacha because we've been working on it for 5 years. Whether it's Ger Toshav, Eina Yehudi Gamor, the Yovel, Ger Toshav, 7 Laws, Asuri Bia, Rambam, Ravid, Mekablin. Do you know those words? Do they know those words? Look it up. If you're holding in the sugya, you know things that I don't know. And if we say a buzzword, you would jump on it, right? And vice versa. Printer's wisdom is everywhere. You have to learn how to notice them and jump off the page. It's called learn like a mensch. Don't just say, No, there's no If you see it, go for it and look it up until you get it right. The bottom line is, the language Ger Toshav has nothing to do with Jubilee. It's actually called Ger Toshav Ochel Nevelas. It's a non-Jew who eats nevela, which is a mitzvah deraisa to give him the nevela, part of the mitzvah deraisa mitzvah chisa. And there's a word called, we say actually Toshav is the level, it's a level of Ger. It's not he is a, it's he can be. A Ger can be Toshav. That's why I say Ger v'Toshav. Right? It's not he is a, he can be. Abraham was a Ger who could be a what? Toshav. They got into the thing where it's he is a. It's not he is a, he can be. A non-Jew, Eino Yehudi Gamor, is a total non-Jew. Can he elevate into a something? Can he be something else?
Sure.
That's right. He can be something else, can he?
Right.
Do we get into what he is a? That's racism. You are a. You are a. That means he can't go anywhere. You are a goy. You can be a Ger Toshav. But if you say Ger Toshav of the Jubilee, that's not a can be, that's is a. Is he a Ger Toshav? No, not to a Jubilee. We have the Rambam to let us know that. Rambam is saying, don't say he is a, go with the Ravid who says he can be. Big difference. Printer's wisdom. The Chachamim, a Chacham, remember the Zakin, you give him Hidra Mitzvah, right? You praise a scholar. Torah is written by Tzaddikim. Therefore, there's always printer's wisdom in every aspect of Torah. He covers his bases by saying the Ger Toshav we're talking about is a Canaanite. Don't get it confused with this guy. These are different Ger Toshavs. One is the land of Israel only. This one can be anywhere, because Toshav here means dwelling. Where do you live? This is a level of distinction. Toshav means like settled in your das, your body, your spirit, your soul. Different mashma'ut. It's actually not even called Ger Toshav. It's shorthand. It's Ger Ocho Nevelas. He eats nevelas. This has nothing to do with nevelas. You don't give him nevela. This is a nachri. You are to sell him the meat. Different din halacha l'maisa. With that, Ari Lewis show. We'll continue next week, God willing, with the Ramdu. Here's Shekayach, sign us out, please.
This is Ari Lewis show. God bless and good night.